Hey guys, Stealth here. Today we're on Paddy Field for a 3v3 conquest. These guys are starting out with 1000 points each, so they can bring in quite a few forces to do their initial grab of territory. We have Spect operating on the right flank. The middle and the left flank are going to be held by SNF Silva and Rangerman 72. We just don't know quite yet where these guys are going, as they haven't deployed their markers yet. They're going up against Emperor. We have Truba and some characters that I cannot really identify, so we're going to call him Jack. Now, as you can see, these guys are pretty experienced at the game. We have a corporal and a couple of sergeants, which means that they did dabble in ranked games. And ranked games bring a specific type of people with them. Ranked isn't for everyone. It's mostly for the more competitive guys out there. So you can bet your ass that these guys are going to put up a good fight. Now we're going to be following along with Spect on the right flank. He's using a general East 4 deck, so no specific coalition, or sorry, no specific specialization. But of course in a situation like this where he's going, you're going to need quite a bit of infantry. Unfortunately, these buildings don't all have perfect line of sight, and if Wargaming or Wargame would implement that line of sight indicator that they put into Steel Division, I can show you what the problem is here. Some of these buildings cannot see beyond this tree line, and the same goes for the buildings here. They're going to have problems with hitting stuff beyond this tree line, because these trees simply get in the way of ATGMs and direct line of fire weapons. So we're going to have to use some other fire support units to keep this zone safe, and of course the enemy team is going to try and capture this area as quickly as possible, because this tends to be a pretty important element for a conquest game. Usually there's heavy fighting over this area, whereas Hotel, for example, sees generally less action because it's more difficult to hold for both parties. Then you have Delta Echo Lima Mike. Most of the skirmishing usually takes place between Echo and Lima, and sometimes you're going to see a team try to break through, and once they have, for example, coming from this side, once they've captured Echo, the fight becomes much more desperate for the team operating on this side, because at that point the other team will have a lot more conquest points. Now let's see what Spect is starting out with. It looks like he's going for a quick area grab, bringing in a couple of anti-air Sokals, a couple of Mi-17s with AGGM units inside, or what I think are going to be the light units, so shorter range AGGMs. He's starting out with a dual combination of OSA AKMs. We have a lot of transports here, a couple of Snezkas, some Wilks. Hopefully these guys can get there fast, because it is a longer drive for Red 4 than it is for Blue 4 coming in from Constantine. Jack opens up with a fighter. I'd say it's an F-16, and he's immediately been detected. The question is, has the F-16 detected the Sokals, and if yes, who's going to shoot first? And it is indeed an F-16, it's an F-16AM coming in. Now he's going what seems to be directly for the convoy, and now he's acquired one of the Sokals. They keep firing at each other, they miss. Looks like the OSAs were able to fire. Actually, no, the SU-27 got him. There we go. There is one dead F-16. Good start. Now with the Sokals overhead, we have at least some defense against enemy helicopters, which are potentially going to do a grab, but if they were, then we'd already seen them. And we have some rocket pods and autocannon support. Hopefully these guys are not going to be required, because at this point most of the fast SPW-80s are getting into position, as well as the units over on the right flank. The Mi-17s are loading their forces and deploying a couple of Concours M. And hopefully he can get some side shots on units as they're coming close. Of course, he doesn't have any reconnaissance units here, meaning that it's much more difficult for him to get a good line of sight before they get too close. Now, unfortunately, his LSTR got killed off early. The other LSTR are still fighting. They're coming up against ATGM infantry, Volkskamjäger, and air transport. Let's see where the tanks are. We have the Wilks and the Snezka being redirected towards the left. As in the middle we're dealing with, or what was, a Panzerbill, and we have some further infantry in NM113s coming this way. Stormers moving in and getting quite close to his AA units already. Hopefully the LSTR can keep them at bay, as the AA units are starting to reverse. Now, the transports still containing infantry have taken some ATGM fire, but fortunately the RBS-56 does not have a lot of range, and the transports are quickly able to flee outside the range of those ATGMs. Of course, this being the deck that it is, we have an automatic, and the automatic was able to kill off one of the transports. It seems that part of the infantry already died, either exiting the transport or from a round that came in from the automatic. And to make matters worse, we have an STRV-121 and a Kyler coming in from the left, from Truba. So this Wilk is being flanked, and no matter where he turns. Hopefully he can reverse and keep the tree line between himself and his targets, and as such get to safety, because his hit point pool is going quite low. Now the LSTR were able to deal with the 121. It got way too close, and the RPG-29 Vampire very quickly took it out. So far it seems that Spect has conquered Ivan. And we do see some blue blips moving around here. A couple of surviving Stormers coming in, which seem to have taken out the ATGM units over there. Now it becomes a race of logistics, because Blue 4 can bring in forces a lot faster here than Red 4 can. Red 4's units need to come in from Anna, drive all the way through Boris, and then either over this road and that one, or come to the more dangerous but slightly faster route to the left, then turn east and head towards the actual fighting zone. And it seems that Blue 4 is bringing in quite a few infantry units. We've got the XA-186 NOs, so fortunately not the ones armed with the Bushmasters. Motorschützen are going to deal with these guys with the support of a Wilk. The Wilk is also going to deal with some of these infantry units before the LSTR need to deal with them. You can see that so far the LSTR are being held back. He does not really want to expose this infantry, and his rather expensive infantry at that, to the Volkskamjäger at close range. But if these guys absolutely want to fight, then a fight is what we'll give them. Now, Volkskamjäger 90 against LSTR is a pretty interesting fight, because the Volkskamjäger 90 have both the AG3 and the LMG3, which they can both use in a close quarter fight. The LSTR, of course, have that extremely accurate STG-943, and that thing is capable of, well, inflicting a lot of damage, not so much suppressing the Volkskamjäger. The Volkskamjäger are currently winning this fight. Unfortunately, with the LSTR going down, the other LSTR are about to lose their buddies, and they are still getting shot at by the IKV-105. There we go, another couple of casualties there. They did manage to take out the unit that was attacking them. And now we have shaken LSTR against panicked Volkskamjäger. 4 versus 5. And we're not quite done yet, because further reinforcements have been brought to the front line. And currently Spect is trying to get the Mi-17s to suppress something. Looks like they already did their job and they're moving back. A couple more concours over here, doing suppressive work and killing off transports, and hopefully the infantry inside. Unfortunately, the Volkskamjäger survived, and it's now up to the Motorschützen to clear out this town. Let's see how the rest of the map is doing. It seems that we have very, very little activity in Lena at the moment. Not exactly sure what happened here, because of course we were paying attention to the right side. But it's remarkable how little units Ranger Man 72 has over here. On the left flank we have Silva, who's going up against what seems to be a British deck by Emperor. He has a T-80, a BRDM-3 and a Rezvedka, which are all moving up together. And it seems that the British don't quite want to lose their challenger. They're putting up a defensive smokescreen around it, obscuring it from sight and hoping to keep the guys safe before the T-80 was able to get a kill. Unfortunately, the T-80 got killed off, potentially by the Milans in there. And so far, there's not really that much pushing here, but they have been able to make quite a bit of ground. And if you look at all this, it seems that Spect has by far the most units. So exactly what happened over here on the left, not quite sure, but it seems to be that both sides went on a mutual destruction spree. and killed off a lot of each other's units. Anyway, back to the right flank, where we have once again taken control of this town. The transports that are supporting the infantry are suppressing everything in sight. And of course, they can do that with machine guns against transports and infantry. Against vehicles that are armored and, for example, carrying a heavier gun, that's going to be a problem. Now they have been able to spot a rover RBS 90, and this thing is taking fire from absolutely everything. Able to take it out. And what do we have here? That's another RBS. Again, another unit dies. So now we have Concours M defending this flank. We have the Motorschützen over here, 4 units. A couple of recon units over to the left flank. These guys have to make quick, otherwise they're getting fed to the Volksjäger over there. Fortunately, these guys are so far suppressed that their accuracy was only 50%. But still, I'd rather not risk it. Now, Blue comes back with a counteroffensive. And at this point, they're rapidly chewing through the transports. The transports are doing what they can to keep them at bay. The Gewehrmen, or at least some of them, have already been panicked. At this point, the Motorschützen are just waiting for these guys to come in. You can see that he spread them out over a bit of a line formation, keeping the whole of the town in check. The Snezgas on the left flank, doing reconnaissance and suppressive damage against the infantry. And it seems that Blue 4 was not really bringing a combination of forces. He's just bringing a lot of infantry, but without any sort of smokescreen or fire support units or tanks, this infantry is never going to get to the town. For example, a smokescreen alone would really help out these units. Now there goes another transport. That transport, by the way, had all sorts of issues. Panicked, out of fuel, almost out of ammo. And at this point, a Fennec 20 mil is being brought in. Immediately getting disposed of by the OSA AKMs, but the OSAs are now empty. And with that being the only AA unit that he has over here, he's probably going to bring in the Kolos towards the OSAs to resupply them, keep them going. Towards the left flank, or towards the middle of the map, we also have some units, because the middle of the map is starting to fall. And Specht is bringing in some units over on the left here, Motorschützen 90 and a T-72 M1 Wilk, to try and deal with the aggression of these two tanks, the Kyler and the 1A1. Cheriton seems to be in a bit of trouble as well, as Silva is being smoked, as well as taking HE fire on his BMPT. The BMPT with all of its armor should not really have that much of an issue with all that fire that's landing near it. But without any good optics or without any fire support units, it's going to be difficult to hold on to this zone if Blue does a concentrated effort there. You can see that Silva's already bringing in a BU. Seems that he's going for few units, but high end over on Cheriton. Whereas on the right, it's not so much high end, it's who can field the most infantry the quickest. Trying to push into these woods, and unfortunately the Motorschützen are not going to be walking out of these woods alive, as they're looking at Gewehrmen, and there are far more Gewehrmen than there are Motorschützen. Snezga unfortunately cannot provide fire support, as it has expended its entire ammunition supply, and is forced to withdraw before it goes down too. Now at this point we have some ATGMs coming in, RBS 56, again, short range weapons. I believe 2275 meter range, so they're not that fantastic at taking out vehicles before the vehicles can start taking shots at them, but their weapon is deadly nonetheless. There we go, 2275 meter range, high AP at 26, meaning that pretty much one hit of these is going to kill a lot of transports and tanks. Of course, it will all depend on the kind of vehicle you're bringing. Further Volksjäger coming in, immediately getting suppressed by Motorschützen 90, but the other Motorschützen here are not doing very well. Hopefully he can alternate them with a couple of fresh Motorschützen, as these guys have just made elite. But he has more on his hands, because he's managing this, he's managing his reinforcements. He might also be managing the Motorschützen and the transport towards the middle of the map, where they're squaring off against a whole lot of Panzer Grenadiers. And of course he also has the tank there. So losing one stack of infantry here, actually he's not lost them yet. is not really that high on his list of priorities, especially considering that these guys are only 15 points. Another Sneska comes in, completely fully armed and ready for the fight, and hopefully this guy can make life in the infantry a bit easier and pick off some of these guys before they get too close, and especially the CV-9030s needs to go. Because these things with their autocannons are far more dangerous than the 113s with their Brownings. Mi-35 getting a kill there. It's trying to suppress transports. Looks like it got another kill. At that point a puff came in and unfortunately ended the story for the Mi-35. But in fact it also got taken out by the OSA. And considering that there's just one OSA left, I think that the puff may have been able to kill off one of the OSAs as it went radioactive. Two Sneskas suppressing all the Gewehrmen, and just look at the amount of units that Blue is fielding here. Gewehrmen after Gewehrmen is being brought forward, and it's almost going to be more of an issue of do I have enough ammo to take care of all of these guys than how are we going to kill them. Because there's just no shortage of targets here. And of course the Gewehrmen are only 10 points and then transport's 5 points. So whereas Spect is paying 15 points for an infantry unit plus I think 5, so he's paying 20 for his infantry units. And that's the Motorschützen 90. Base Motorschützen at 15 points, same. So he's still paying 20 for an infantry squad. Whereas Jack over here is paying his Gewehrmen in 15 points. And as such can, if he has enough of them, overwhelm. RBS 90 taking shots at the Mi-17. Mi-17 getting ready to take fire, and yep, able to hit and kill off the RBS 90. Shows you what these things can do. Unfortunately, we have another offensive coming in. A lot more Gewehrmen are coming in from the left flank, where the Motorschützen have currently died off. The Mi-17 is scurrying for cover. It's not going to be surviving for much longer. It's still trying to do some damage with his NSWP machine gun. And the amount of fire that this helicopter is taking is punishing. I mean, there we go. It finally went down. SPW 50K coming in, trying to suppress the infantry before they're able to dig in. And whereas we're dealing with Gewehrmen on the right flank, we're dealing with Stormers on the left, which are slightly more dangerous than the Gewehrmen. A Wilk is ready to fire at anyone inside this town, but we need optics on them. We need eyes on. Where is the infantry? Then, towards the right flank again, more Motorschützen are being brought forward. Again, a CV-9030 is suppressing units as it can spot them. So, whereas firing at the Gewehrmen before they get too close to the town would be a good idea, it's also working against them. Because now the CV-9030 has a good line of sight on the Motorschützen. The Motorschützen are taking a lot of damage from the 9030. Of course, we have a further relief convoy coming in. BMP-2s. We have a whole slew of these vehicles coming in. The BMP-2 armed with, once again, an autocannon. And there seems to be no shortage in demand for autocannons, as more and more and more infantry, and especially lightly skinned vehicles such as the Rovers and some of these light armored transports, are coming in, and hopefully we can take them out before they get too close to the town. Towards the middle of the map, there's a lot of Eurocorps operating. We have, of course, the Eurocorps that's being commanded by Truba, and we still have the British deck, or actually the Commonwealth deck, commanded by Emperor. So far, they're able to hold on to these zones. And so far they've been able to get 202 points versus the 30 points that Bluefor has scored. Bluefor could be capturing Leonid, but I think that they might in fact be investing in units rather than command vehicles. But if they capture Leonid, then it's going to be a +1 ticker for Bluefor. Same goes for Ivan. If Blue can somehow position a concealed command vehicle into Ivan, then it's going to be more difficult for Red to hold on to the zone, or at least the points. And you're basically forcing the enemy team to act on you. You're forcing them to do something against your forces, and making sure that you are not going to be losing too many points. Now, it seems that the fighting with the infantry has died down a bit. It's just one Stormer against one group of Motorschützen. On the left, we still have a tank coming in. Leopard 1A5. And unfortunately the Wilk is not really in a fighting condition to meet with that thing head to head. So far the Motorschützen are just going to have to hold out under fire and hopefully not lose too many guys while they're at it. CV-1930 now is closing in on the Motorschützen. Motorschützen heavily engaged with the Stormers and not really having any opportunity to close into the CV-1930 and kill it off. And with that last Motorschützen there, all we have left here in infantry is the Concours. These BMP-2s need to rush in and save the day. And be quick about it, because the HGM infantry is having a rough day. And the Snezgas are doing what they can to support him with autocannon fire. But so far, I'm pretty concerned about these Concours. CV-1930 on the right flank, he's about to get rushed by a BMP-2 and especially the infantry inside. Motorschützen 90 against the Motorschützen base against the CV-90 shouldn't be that much of a problem. There, they already got one hit and there's the kill. We got a small Marine Jaeger squad. Not sure why you want to move them over here. I'd say move them along the flank and then try to spot from over there. Rapidly disposed of by the BMP-2. And there we go. Blue has in fact captured Ivan. And that's not the only thing. They have also captured Leonid. And they're now at a +2. The good news is that there's not that many locations that Blue can be concealing their command vehicle in Ivan. Of course, this is the first area where you're going to be looking for it. Because this is the only place where you have at least some cover. Spect, not wasting a single moment, is immediately rushing his Motorschützen into these woods, where, as far as we know, there might still be Gewehrmen. BMP-2s trying to support their infantry as much as possible. Of course, once these guys in fact enter the woods, that's going to be a whole lot more difficult. And so far they're working over some transports before that happens, but we have a bigger gun joining the fight. This looks like an STRV-103, I'm just not exactly sure which type. Whichever type it is definitely capable of dealing with all of these BMP-2s. Now the Motorschützen have taken a position on the right building, and we have further reinforcements coming in. Hopefully quickly dealing with the Stormers. Not quick enough though, as the Stormers were able to take out another BMP-2. And yes, it looks like we still have some of the infantry in here, but not the infantry that I was expecting. These are the Volkskamjäger with a transport, and the Motorschützen are not going to survive. They simply don't have the firepower to deal with all of these guys. There's just way more of them. Now it turns out it's an STRV-103 Delta, and the Concours was able to get at least one missile into it, and then ran out of further HEGMs. Now at this point an F-111C came in, dropped a couple of bombs, did not really seem to hit anything. Maybe it hit a BMP-2, I'm not exactly sure about that. Another group of Motorschützen 90s being brought forward, hopefully finishing the job that the other Motorschützen started. Of course they still need to get close enough to the woods. And so far, the Volkskamjäger are first prioritizing their transports, as these guys are doing suppressive damage. We need to get rid of them quick. That is, Blue 4 needs to get rid of them quick. MiG-21 ML came in, doing a rocket pod strike on the 103D. Not enough. Motorschützen join in, hit him with an RPG. Not enough. And now they're just chasing this guy down. Trying to get close enough to that tank to just put it into the ground once and for all. Now they will recapture their Koloss, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that was his objective, per se, but at least he got a Koloss back, which is an interesting bit of information, because it means that there's not that much going on here. Concours, on the edge of being resupplied by this Koloss, were able to get one HGM into the tank. Tank died, but there are further units coming in, and a 4MT-121, and a whole slot of infantry coming in from the left, where all of these BMP-2s have been killed off, thanks to the Volkskamjäger, airstrikes, and potential fire support that we haven't even seen yet, such as this Leopard 2A5 from Truba that's coming up from the left ridge. Now, it seems that Red 4 was either able to capture some territory or neutralize something. I think they were able to capture Dmitry and neutralize Leonid, because they're no longer gaining points for Blue 4. But this 2A5 is going to be a problem. And yes, Motorschützen with an RPG-7 can do some damage against them, but it is fairly limited. Now take note how this 2A5 is being supported by a smokescreen, and not a moment too soon. MiG-21ML came in, not so much to kill it off, but at least to stun it, so that the JH-7 might be able to actually kill it off. Another MiG-21ML circling, getting ready for another shot at the 2A5. 2A5 just completely concealed there. No idea exactly where this thing is. We're just going to have to be patient and wait for the smoke to dissipate. There it is. Stormers killed off by the 21ML as it was still circling around. JH-7 now looking for a target. Comes left and looks for the solution on the 2A5, and the 2A5 completely dodges the missiles as they both jump over the target and crash into the buildings behind them. So the 2A5 is still a problem, but not so much for Spect anymore, but this time around for the Zanshi from Ranger Man on the left. Still a tank out in the open here. We need to get this thing killed. So another JH-7 comes in. Hot on its tail we have a F4, able to get shot down by the OSAs. Unfortunately the JH-7 also went down here, crashing almost on top of some transports. And as we were dealing with another aircraft over here, I think it went down. That was another F-16. I think it was the MLU that I just saw coming in. Unfortunately he did lose another OSA, but of course an OSA for an MLU, that's a good trade. Now, Blue Force not letting up. They still have more forces, and they are not worried about putting more forces towards the front line. Volkskamjäger 90, XA-186 NOs, so Brownings. We have the Panzer Bill with further fire support. MiG-21ML comes in, and the fact that it's not being punished by any kind of counter anti-air unit is an interesting situation. Because it allows these MiG-21MLs to constantly do salvos off their rocket pods. These guys rearm in little no time at all. So you can just keep doing these rocket pod salvos on these targets as they're not being backed up by AA. Now, at this point we have just a couple of concours, some Motorschützen and a Moderna. Moderna unfortunately has expended most of its autocannon ammo. And at this point, for some reason, the Volkskamjäger retreat. They withdraw into their tree line. And Spect was able to counter the capture of Ivan by putting his own command vehicle in. And with the rest of his team, he's now getting a +1. So it seems that the situation is letting up a little bit. But so far we're not out of the woods yet. F4F comes in, deals with the Su-27SK, and we have a sudden death situation where both aircraft die. There's one, and there's the other. They also tried to help out, ran out of AA munitions, and could not really do anything as these aircraft were just slugging it out one after another. 2A5 seems to have taken a hit. We have an optical failure as well as a weapon jam. And this thing is forced to withdraw. Now, with all of that damage, you could try rushing up to it, but there's no telling how much backup this thing is getting. Bit of rocket artillery going towards Ivan. I'm not exactly sure what he's hoping to achieve. We are dealing with a Smirch at long range. Infantry doesn't take any damage from a Smirch. Vehicles do. But as far as we can tell, there are not that many vehicles around. Nor is there an offensive being brought forward that we can see. So I'm not exactly sure why he fired his Smirch at this location. I don't really see the benefit there. Now Elena's been secured. Elena being this zone right over here. And with that capture, Red is now getting points. So now it is Blue Force time to start making a move. And in fact they do so rather quickly. They were already planning on capturing Leonid and they now have succeeded in that objective. And as such, nobody is gaining points. And while Red is ahead on points, of course, the more you can get, the better. So we need to try and find some of these command vehicles and knock them down. And hopefully, Ivan is going to be a good opportunity to do so. Now, come to think of it, that might have been the objective here for the Smirch. Trying to get, for example, a command vehicle that may have been hiding over here. Unfortunately, we don't quite know yet what kind of command unit we're dealing with. It could be a vehicle or it could be an infantry unit. There's just too much opportunity for hiding either over here to say with full consideration that this must be an infantry command, because you simply cannot hide a vehicle. Now, the OSA, not yet resupplied, had a pretty good opportunity to shoot down a TOW 2. And the TOW 2 may have been able to take a shot at the Moderna. At least the Moderna is panicked and withdrawing. And so far the Lynx TOW 2 not hovering too close to the battle. We did see an automatic come in. Automatics are generally bad news. Not so much for your helicopters, but also for your ground forces. And of course, helicopters over here are a pretty risky business, because there's a pretty high opportunity for Blue 4 and Red 4 to hide a command unit. To hide an AA unit. Another bit of artillery coming in. It looks like it may have been effective enough, and that's not what I'm looking for. That's a Mankadi 6.6. I'm looking for the Leopard. Where is the 2A5? Seems that Red has taken the stance of, if you cannot do it the subtle way, we're going to do it the less subtle way. Still, I cannot see the wreck of the 2A5, so the 2A5 may have somehow survived or evac'd the region before all of that rain came down. Anyway, this is the area where we're focusing on. Motorschützen now being backed up by Zanchi 85 from Ranger Man 72. And again, we have some of the surviving Volkskomjäger. At this time, the Volkskomjäger are not being backed up that much by their transports, and some Sneskas as well as a Wilk is able to do some damage at long range, as Blue 4 is doing a rather beautifully orchestrated smoke push, and units coming through that smoke immediately, trying to capture a foothold into this area, because this town too can be a quite domineering position over here. Gotta say, this is a very, very nice smoke corridor that these guys have set up. Challenger 1-3 coming in, and it looks like cluster munitions were at this time able to take out the command vehicle. Command infantry probably wouldn't exactly be that panicked by them. And at this point Red 4 is gaining points again. Bertino from Silva put the area on fire just to be sure. And at this point any infantry that was still here is either burning up or has already died off. Now a push being actually it's a combined push. We have Jack as well as Emperor, and if the Emperor is getting involved then it must be serious. And actually we have Truba coming in from the left flank. So it's 3 players operating on this area all at once. At this point Silva is also helping out, and I think that Ranger Man might be coming in with some further units. Large airstrike coming in. Fiebau dealing with AA units. IL-102 dealing with any infantry that might still be hiding out. And we have a second seed aircraft in case anything tries to get active and tries to take a shot at them. So far it seems that the fight for Ivan is going rather well. And especially that Buratino was able to buy them enough terrain to at least get some units into position. Of course, Sneskas, while they are nice and open terrain, at short range they're going to be easily killed off. A lot of Blue 4 units still spotted here. 2A1, we have a Kyler, Panzergrenadier 90, going up against Lee Ren, and a ZTZ 85-3. Now at this range, the 85-3 should be able to deal with the Kyler quickly. The helicopters got shot down there. What are we dealing with? Looks like a recon bird, Mi-2. T-80 by Silva is taking quite a bit of fire from the TOW 2. Unfortunately, no AA units able to help out at the moment. And Spec decided to invest quite a few points into PT-91 Twardy. This one, at long range, is of course very accurate, able to quickly deal with transports, but not as versatile as, I think it died, his Moderna with its autocannon and the main gun. So they're not as good at dealing with infantry. Talking of infantry, we have a lot of it. At this point, Jack is working together with Emperor, and Emperor has rushed forward 30 commandos. The commandos at this point taken over the building, and very, very quickly the town. But it seems that blue is doing a bit of friendly firing here, as they're not just landing smoke screens around this area, but they're landing HE rounds on their own guys as well. Commando's able to leap away from the airstrike just in time, as the Jäger 90 and an Aslav are making their way to the right. This is getting quite desperate. UAZ forced to move a little bit before burning up here thanks to that forced fire. MiG-21MLs doing some salvos on the Jäger, getting some kills but not nearly enough. And the Twardy seems to be rushed forward in order to intercept everything that gets into this zone before they're able to dig in. Artillery at this point took out his OSA AKM. And we have very little, if any, infantry here. At least that is our infantry. Jäger 90, very, very dangerous for the Twardy. They're trying to get a hit on the Twardy, missed narrowly. And unfortunately that's not the only problem that the Twardy has, as they're also taking mortar fire. Now at this point the Twardy takes a massive hit from the Challenger 1-3 right in the side of the vehicle. Retreats, tries to put the tree line between itself and the Challenger 1-3. And it missed again narrowly. Challenger 1-3 at an accuracy of 76 versus a 70 from the Twardy. Twardy hit again. Frontal armor still holding up. Accuracy dropped to 60. Hit. Oh, who's going to ever get the first hit in? And it's the Challenger. Challenger wins this fight, but not for long, as the Seria 30 came in and killed off the last remaining hit point. A couple of further air contacts coming in. MiG-21MLs getting ready to line up shots on the infantry as they can see them. And just that second bit is the problem. They could no longer spot the targets. And the UAZ is forced to withdraw. Not far enough, as the Jäger 90 just take it out easily. Mirage F1CT coming in. Cluster bombs going what might be for the Buratino over here. If they do, then that could very well be the end of it, but it seems like they missed. Just not by enough. Buratino goes down. At this point, this zone is in a lot of trouble, and we can see all sorts of units being spawned in. Even a BMPT coming in to help. We got some 5.51s with autocannons and high-end infantry inside. But these guys need to get here quick, before Blue 4 is able to dig in. Now fortunately, at this point we have 5 minutes left in the game. Red 4 is at a solid 290 points and getting a +1. Blue 4 doesn't really have that much in the sense of plays. They could still try and recapture Ivan with a command vehicle. At which point they would be neutralizing the Inco. But they would not really be getting any further points. Ah, we found the 2A5 again. Or a 2A5. I think the other 2A5 may have already been further upfetted. Now if they're able to capture Leonid as well, they might be able to get at least a bit closer to a draw. And so far it seems that they're just focusing on units. 103D, Marksman, Rapier. We have all sorts of units. Oh, look at here. Look at this. We have a terrible driver for one. God, and I thought I was a bad driver. This is not really how you move a truck out of the way. Not with a command vehicle. And the command vehicle didn't really have time to do that. It didn't really have the luxury of time. Not with 4 minutes left on the clock. And 308 points for Red. So at this point, the battle is concluded. Red 4 has won this fight, and now it's just a question of how many more units is each side going to lose in the fight over Ivan. There's the command vehicle. Looks like the command vehicle might be going head-to-head with the 5.51. 5.51 won't need too many shots to deal with the command vehicle, but we still have another issue here. The Leopard 2A5. The Leopard 2A5 easily takes out the 5.51, and Leonid is secure, putting Blue 4 at no further negative points. So Red is able to not get any further points in. At this point they don't really have to. They can survive the next 3 minutes and 15 seconds. That's good enough. Now, the amount of anti-air that Blue is putting up is probably already been neutralized, and if it's not, oh, looky here. Looky here, Blue 4 has put up a command unit here. Of course, with the links touching down and then the zone getting taken over, it's immediately obvious what's going on. And with the consistent MiG-21ML strikes, it shouldn't be long before the command section goes down. Spetsnaz crew are even able to spot them, sniping off one of the commanders there. There's a second one. Third. 2 more shots and we got him. 4. Last man standing. 5. Target down. Ivan once again recaptured by Blue, as Spect was able to put a command infantry just in the corner of this zone. And we further have Stormers, and lots of them, coming in on the left flank. So hopefully we can just keep these guys alive for 2 minutes, as bombing runs should be able to keep these infantry units at bay. And make sure that the infantry here, the command infantry, does not immediately die off. Good bombing run, hit quite a few of the Stormers and stunned them, buying again a couple seconds. Now the BMP-T has finally arrived, and at this point could be very handy in dealing with these Stormers just before they get up to the building. Another command vehicle deployed here. IL-102, seemingly already in the area, says no problem, I got this, and plows through, but just around the command vehicle. Now just imagine the command vehicle watching all that devastation and hoping that it's not going to get hit. And in fact, it wasn't. It was able to get out of there just barely. Spetsnaz GRU, or Spetsnaz GRU, moving in, sniping the command vehicle, getting 1 of the 5 hit points so far. Come on, guys. Oh shit, we got a triple stack of Aslife PCs coming in. Not good. Back it up. Concealment. Yep, acquired. Sniper rifle on the ready. Now taking out the commandos. And it seems that the battle for the middle has died down. We just need to get rid of this command vehicle if we want to get some more points. And we have another couple of aircraft just joining the fight here. Rocket pod plane and 2 heavy bombers dropping 1,000 kilogram bombs. Twardy comes in. Here's the MiG-21ML. What's it going for? It's going for the command vehicle and it gets the kill. No more command vehicle there. Blue 4 lost its command vehicle, but Red isn't quite safe yet, as their command infantry just got taken out by mortar fire. Jack surrenders. We have further Blue 4 Air Force units coming in, doing whatever they can to at least salvage what honor they have left. But with 4 seconds left on the clock, this game is done. So, a total defeat for Blue 4, meaning a total victory for Red 4. And my god, did these guys grind through some infantry. The teams were actually quite close. They actually haven't lost that many forces with a dramatic difference between them. I mean, Emperor lost a little bit more than he killed off. Truba, very slightly. But Jack over here is the one who lost most of the forces. He was constantly trying to rush infantry to the town and constantly losing the forces that he got there. And unfortunately this may just have cost them the match. Now, had he made a bit more use of smoke, that might have been easier. It might have been slightly more possible to get in there. But of course, that's easy for me to say as I'm talking to this after the fact. I'm not actually fighting the battle. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this fight. Fight to the death over there in Ivan. And definitely a close one. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. And I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon for more videos.